Hi, Marina. So we've been talking a lot about anxiety and how to deal with it through thought processes and yoga. And anxiety is a form of fear. So what about fear in general? Just being scared, being frightened. Are there yoga postures that can help with that?
Well, hi everybody, first of all, and thank you to the sun that today is accompanying us for this session. Yes, about fear. I think that many of us have been experiencing these days several emotions coming up, but fear is the one that really is showing up more often. And the moment we perceive the fear, our body responds somehow. And we can feel it. So the first thing is to welcome this fear and try to embrace it, as we said, stopping and breathing, as we also said for the anxiety. But fear, what it does is menacing our grounding. So we feel that it's menacing our base, our ground base. So it's our connected to our third chakra, because we feel that our instinct to survival is affected. So are we going to be able to nourish ourselves and to do we feel secure and stable? So it's really menacing this basic elements. It's our home, it's really what is expected when we are fearful. But on the other side, and I think David will talk more about this later, we can oppose, let's say, faith. And a fantastic quote from another Judith that I love a lot. She's saying, fear is the belief that something bad is going to happen. And faith is the belief that something beautiful is going to happen. So let's balance the two and choose what we want to for our life. So my suggestion is always to observe the fear, integrate feeling the response of the body, and work with our breath. So we'll work on our fear. I suggest you, and I share this with you, to try to stop and breathe, to observe the fear. So really observing the breath, to calm down, observe your body, and respond then of the body to fear. And I'd like also to share with you a little sequence of yoga postures that can help to process this fear and the blockages that it produces in our body. The fear is emotion connected to the meridians of kidneys and bladder, urinary tract, and they run in the back of our legs and all along our back until here, our forehead. So I'd like to start with a couple of postures standing up. So one is that we open our feet and we can place our hand on the elbows and come down. We can do like this, we can do like this, whatever is more effective for you. And we stay, we breathe into the tensions, we feel the tensions, we breathe. Then we can pass through putting one foot over the other, and again, we go down and breathe, perceive. Stay there as much as you feel that it's releasing the tension in the back of your leg here where the meridian runs. Breathing in, you go up and then you change legs and go on the other. You're working here in the back of your leg where the meridians we're talking about. Stay for at least 5 breaths and longer if you can, until you really feel you're unlocking and making space into your body. Then the Paschimottanasana is all these little sequence is also very good for it. So you can breathing in and then bend forward here. If you don't reach your toes, it doesn't matter. Just up here and gently go down. The important thing that you're working on the tensions in the back of your leg and opening up here and go down. And all this, you can also bend one knee and go down. Yeah. Okay, on the other side. Yeah, you do the same. And breathe. Stay there, breathe until you feel it's releasing intention. Use the breath for that. And then you can do this one, just opening. Here we have in the back the kidneys running here. You can work just this way, or you can bend and go forward. Just you can arrive where you can. Don't be inspired, but even if you don't go that much down, you're working, and that's important. Another one, last one, I want to show you. This one, we just hold our toes. Even if we bend our knees, we just put the weight on our toes and stay there working on the back. And just release the tension, the lower back, and breathe. Thank you so much. This was a little paper. Now, I'd like to hear from David. David, please tell us about your experience in dealing with the fear. Tell us something, how to support us in this process. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marina. First of all, that's wonderful. It's really good, and it's great, of course, how always we should combine, I think, mind, body, and soul. They're always connected when it comes to mental health things. I mean, I think the very term is wrong. It's not just mental health, you know, it's body and soul health. And they're always affected, you know. The three are always affected. The disease is always in the mind, body, and soul, you know. Maybe one follows the other, but let's talk about that another day. So fear, yeah, I mean, fear is massive, you know. Some people say fear is the opposite of love. I really like, I may have said this little ditty before because it's just brilliant to me, where it goes that fear knocked at the door, faith answered, nobody was there. And I love that because you beat fear with faith, you know, in terms of your spirit and your mind. Now, how do you get faith? Well, I'll come to that. It's not instant coffee. It's not overnight. You have to, very often, I mean, as you alluded to there, you know, you have to realize that the world is generally a very loving world full of abundance, that we're looked after. And it's not a hostile world where everyone's out to get you and you shouldn't trust anyone or anything. Now, the problem is many people grow up in a house when they're getting wired in the first 7-8 years of their life, particularly, but even through your teens, you're still getting wired by these godlike figures that are your parents or your carers, these adults that do everything for you and you're very dependent on, especially in the beginning. And if they're teaching you, these godlike figures, that the world is hostile and don't trust anyone, and they're watching all the poison on the news and reading particularly certain newspapers that are just telling you not to trust this type of person or that type of person or people in general, that's the world you go into, you know. But actually, so you have to try and turn this around, and I think that's just something that you've got to be aware of your thoughts, and also you have to go out there and try it and realize that most people are okay. I mean, it's kind of that thing of what you put out, you get back, you know. So smile and the world smiles with you. Or if you go out and you don't trust anyone and you're a bit hostile towards them, you're probably going to get hostility back and untrustworthiness back because you're giving out that vibe. There's a couple of little things that I've heard saying that fear can stand for. One of them is false evidence appearing real. See, so you convince your mind that things aren't right. I mean, I remember hearing about a friend who was talking to his mother and he spent 10 minutes and she listened dutifully as a mother does. She listened for 10 minutes, nodding her head, and he was telling her all his projections and his fears, but he thought they were reality. And she listened dutifully. And at the end, she said, "Have you finished now?" And he said, "Yeah." She said, "It's very interesting to hear, but none of that's real, you know." And so that's false expectations appearing real. And the other is that people sometimes use is F everything and run. Now that's fine if you're in a situation where you're being chased by a tiger, or where there is a real threat. You know, you F everything and run. Okay. But a lot of people apply that to things that won't go away. So, you know, the job, the house, the relationship, you know, these things won't go away. There's stuff inside you from childhood, or things that you need to deal with that are increasing your anxiety and your fear about the world. These things don't go away, so you can't run from them forever, you know. And a lot of people will, for instance, will move countries or change a job. And the problem is they're going to take their head with them and their soul with them. And so whereas it might seem like it solves things for a little while, eventually they're going to get caught up with again, you know, because you can't run away from that. It's inside you. And no one else can deal with it except for you, because it's in you. You know, you can seek help from someone, but, you know, you've got to do the work. They can guide you, but you've got to do the work. So a couple of other things there. I mean, fear, the actual word fear comes back from a Latin word meaning periculum or something like that. I might be pronouncing that not too right, and it means test or trial. So if you look at the word less as in fearless, that means the word less means not having. So if you're fearless, you're I think it means that you're not having fear. But that means you've taken a test and beaten it. Now, it means you've got to take the test and get through it. You know, you can only become fearless if you take the test, you know. And then this is why I like, at the moment, I'm really into the dragon stories, like St. George and the Dragon and that, you know. You can't think yourself fearless. You know, you have to go and slay the dragon. And it comes back to that thing about false, F everything and run, you know. Sometimes it gets to the point where you know the dragon's going to slay you anyway, unless you go and slay the dragon. So you have to prepare and go and slay it. And that's what you'd call rock bottom in recovery terms. You'd call it a rock bottom, where you know you're beaten anyway, so you might as well go and attack it. You know, there's nowhere else you can go. You've run out of ideas. So that's the one thing. The other thing, I mean, it's a really simple thing, and it's actually, I mean, apparently in the Bible, I'm not a religious person who goes to church, but I think the Bible's got some brilliant symbolism that help, and stories that help with the human condition. It's a book that's outlasted empires and nations, and it shouldn't be ignored. If you like books and stories about the human condition, whether you believe it's true or not, the stories are great. And in there, apparently, so I'm told by somebody who knows the Bible very well, it says 365 times, so once for every day of the year, not to worry. And Jesus Christ says, can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? You know, we'll answer the question. You don't. You know, the only thing fear and worrying does is, the guarantees is that you will ruin the moment, you know, but you very rarely change the outcome. And most things you worry about are not going to materialize anyway. You know, I always say to people, look at the newspapers from a year ago and ask yourself, did that drought they warned about happen? Did that freezing cold winter, did it actually happen? You know, so most of the things, you know, that people worry about don't materialize. And then some of the things, like at the moment, we're with this terrible coronavirus. No one predicted that, you know, really. You know, certainly, you know, it was something that no one was worrying about this time last year. So worrying is a waste of time for sure. And then I think the other thing that's, you know, how to bear in mind, going back to what you're talking about, grounding, is I think a lot of this, how you develop faith really is a lot of it's through humility. And the word humility is from Latin, meaning humus, meaning earth, you know, and it's related to a Greek word chamai, which means on the ground. So again, it's kind of like getting grounded, getting right sized, being humble, and knowing, you know, that there's a great universe out there. For me, what helps with getting faith is to try to forget about my plan, but to look at what the universe's purpose is for me. So I ask, what's my purpose? And that kind of takes away a lot of fears, really. I don't know how people just have to practice that, really, but to be humble and you know, have faith that you're living in a loving world and being looked after, really. And finally, one thing to look out for is false humility. And that's the person who, for example, does something that's good and humble, but then shouts about it a lot. You know, so for example, someone maybe giving to charity is a good thing, obviously, but then if they tell everyone in the world they've done that, maybe it's a good motive, a bad motive dressed up as a good motive. They basically want people to say you're fantastic, and that's not humility, you know. So I hope that answered. I mean, fear can't be solved overnight, like a lot of these problems, but you can start to work on it. Yeah, I think in general, just try to look at the world as a loving, trusting world, and throw away any conceptions you've been force-fed as a kid, you know, and see what happens, you know. So there you go. Hope that helps.
Great. Thank you so much, Marina. It was fantastic. Thanks.